Hey, record loving friends, this is Brian from Tokyorecordstyle. I woke up this morning and watched a video by Norman Maslov in the vinyl community. If you don't know about Norman Maslov, he's got a channel on YouTube with a lot of followers. He's known as Mazzy, and he's a very interesting character who knows a lot about music and a lot about photography. I think worked for many years, having a career as a photography agent, and being a photographer myself, that sort of attuned me to him. And he just mentioned knowing the rock photographer Jim Marshall, who took, the famous pictures of Pete Townsend doing the windmill, and maybe Jimi Hendrix with the flaming guitars, and a bunch of famous rock and roll photos that you probably know. And I don't know, inspiration struck, and he does these videos that he calls whack-a-moles. And I'm going to attempt my own whack-a-mole today. Now, this is not a copy of Mazzy's concept of whack-a-mole, more of a tribute, really, more of an appreciation post, a response post to say like how much I kind of love and respect these videos, because I'm always kind of floored by how well he can pull these videos off. Now, let me explain what they are. Basically, he's got this enormous record collection like I have here behind me. His is triple, quadruple, quintuple the size of mine. By the way, I'll explain real quick here about my record setup. I'm sitting on my piano bench in front of my piano, and we're a piano family. We've got drums and guitars and piano. We love music here. None of us are particularly proficient, but we can all play. And so my wife's a great drummer and piano player, and my kids are great piano players, and I play piano and guitar too. But living here in Japan, we don't have a ton of space. We live in a nice suburban house on the outskirts of Tokyo, or kind of actually in somewhat central Tokyo, in one of the 23 major kus of Tokyo. But we have a modest house, and this is my record place, and I have about 1,000 records maybe, and kind of across all genres. There's some genres that I wish I had a bit more of, but I've got this row of records, I've got another row on top of it, and then I have a Kallax right here that is also filled with records. So my rock and roll and sort of, middle of the road pop stuff is here, and then all my jazz and blues and classical and comedy is, soundtracks, etc., is over here in this Kallax. And then I have to actually I don't have another place to keep a turntable. So I've actually built this sort of system on top of my piano, like a homemade wall-mounted shelving system that sort of leverages the mass of the piano. So I can keep my records above it. And it's a little bit wonky, and the speakers are a little bit higher than I wish they were, and I have to kind of tilt them down. And I know that it's not ideal to have your turntable next to your speakers, but I can't really crank the speakers loud enough. We're just kind of living on top of each other here in Tokyo, so I can't really blast off so as much to really rattle the turntable to reduce the fidelity of the speakers. Having said that, I am the obnoxious foreigner in my neighborhood who from time to time does crank rock and roll or blues with the windows open and kind of blast my neighbors out of the neighborhood. But anyway, this is my rig, and maybe I'll do a breakdown at some point, but I'm going to pull some records from these shelves, and again, as a tribute to Mazzy, who does these whack-a-mole things, like the game Whack-a-Mole, the arcade game where you whack the moles with the hammers. He basically reaches back and he pulls, without looking, random records from his collection. And then he talks about what these records mean to him. He talks about maybe finding them for the first time or discovering them, and rattles off maybe who the label is and who the producer is. And the thing is that in this video, I want to say thank you to Mazzy essentially for these, and just basically prove that it's not an easy thing at all to do, because I doubt that even a single one, maybe one if I'm lucky, I will really know from front to back and be able to comment on a way with the same level of authority about just knowing it in general that Mazzy often does with his explanations of his records. I'm stalling. I'm stalling because I think this is going to be a little bit of a train wreck. I just want to challenge myself to do it. I have a hunch it'll be a little bit more autobiographical in a sense. I just want to say what the record maybe means to me, or maybe how I discovered or why it's in my collection, because you know, from spending a little time on some of the vinyl community streams lately, it's becoming very apparent to me that my musical depth, the depth of my knowledge of music, while I've loved and have been listening to music all my life and consider myself a big music head, is a far cry from what I've seen and witnessed from some of the people in the vinyl community. So salute to you all who can keep all this stuff in your head. Somehow it kind of goes in and out of my ears. So without further ado, let's do this. Whack-a-mole, Tokyo Record Style, Volume 1, 1 of 1, we'll see. But let's pull 5 records. Okay, here we go. I gotta close my eyes. 1, 2, come on. Let's move some stuff around. I'm not looking, I got my eyes closed here. Oh God, I gotta be careful not to break something. 3, 4, and we'll pull one from over here. 5. Okay. Oh, this is interesting. Oh, this is going to be fun, actually. This is going to be fun, I think. I still think I'm going to make a little bit of a fool of myself. So, let's do this. Let's start with a record we all know. Paul Simon's Graceland. What a great record. Really a masterpiece. Probably certainly his most famous record from the 80s. Maybe this is like 86, 86, I guess it right. So this was, of course, his collision of pop and African mambazo music, or South African music. And I wish I could tell you all the inside knowledge about that African sound, but I think he was working with Ladysmith Black Mambazo, who's a few records of theirs I collected, an amazing group led by Joseph somebody, but he sang this Swahili, traditional sort of chorus sounding songs that you guys probably know from South Africa. And Paul Simon, who I read about, one of the things that he was most interested in about Elvis was that, and I'm not to whitewash the history here, because we all know that this is not exactly the case, but how Elvis combined, rhythm and blues and gospel to essentially create rock and roll as the, canon goes, if you will. Even though we know that that's, Elvis borrowed from more people, and, rock and roll got created in a little bit different way. I've got a little hair hanging on my face that's making me, anyway. So the way that he took these sort of two disparate genres and combined them to create a new genre of music, that's what Paul Simon was attempting to do with Graceland, so I was told. That's why it's called Graceland, because of its sort of homage to Elvis. Maybe I'm mistaken about that, but that's what I grew up remembering. This was one of the first records that I really, really, really loved. I mean, this is a record, oddly enough, that now I meet people on the streets and they say their parents had this record. And in my generation, I mean, I think this was like one of the first records that I actually shared with my parents. This was something that we both really liked. Of course, it has the song Graceland, and the Ladysmith Black Mambazo crew, they kind of come in and out of a few songs. I think there's some without that sort of fingerprint on the sound of the music, and some songs that do. Diamonds on the Soles of Her Shoes was famous for, the video on MTV with Chevy Chase. Oh, no, excuse me. That was not Diamond. That was You Can Call Me Al. Yeah, You Can Call Me Al with the knee thing going on. And then Homeless, Under African Skies. I think that was recorded with Linda Ronstadt, maybe. She's on that. And yeah, it kind of falls off here at the end, but produced by Paul Simon, 1986 Graceland. We all know it. Classic record. One more thing I want to say about this one. There was another record that came out that was not really that lauded, called Songs of the Cape Man. I think it was maybe a decade after this one. There might have been a couple records between this one and Songs from the Cape Man, but Songs from the Cape Man is a great record that I would love to own on vinyl, and it also kind of collides doo-wop music with, what is it? It's like doo-wop and blanking here, but it's another record that combines two sort of disparate genres of music to kind of create something really interesting. And not only does it combine these sounds, but it tells this amazing story of this guy who was part of a gang in New York in the 50s maybe, and who killed somebody and who went to jail and who was rehabilitated essentially and came out and never committed another crime. And his name was the Cape Man. He was like 13 years old or 16 years old. He was the youngest person to be convicted maybe to the death penalty in New York or something like that. And he like served a long time and got off death row. And it's a good story and a great album. Songs of the Cape Man, highly underrated Paul Simon record. But two of my favorite Paul Simon records are Graceland and Songs from the Cape Man. I've never been to Graceland, but I would really love to go. Shout out to my homie Holmes Brown, whose father's copy of this was one of the first CDs that I ever saw. Great record. Graceland. Okay. Rambling there. Tangent, as Mazzy says. Next, okay, this is Walls and Bridges. Now, some Beatle head is gonna like, I've got nothing to say about this record. I just own this record because I know it is essential John Lennon listening. I probably need to go and listen to it 100 more times so that I can comment on it with some bit of authority. I know the songs probably, Whatever Gets You Through the Night, What You Got, Number 9 Dream, his infatuation with Number 9, Beef Jerky, Nobody Loves You When You're Down and Out. What a song. I probably know the songs off of Walls and Bridges from maybe a collection that came out in the 90s called Once Upon a Time, or maybe Lennon Legend. I probably had one of those compilations, which is why I know this. Shout out to my friend Michael Warren, who had said to me, like, oh, you don't own Walls and Bridges, you got to get Walls and Bridges. I probably only listened to it a couple of times, but what's kind of fun about this record is that it has this famous picture of him on the back wearing all these sunglasses, which is just so cool and fun. And, you know, how you imagine sort of in a photograph John Lennon to actually be. And, you know, he just looks happy and cool and fun. And I really love this. And of course, this is a pretty unique jacket design in the sense that it opens in some weird ways. It's got all these kind of trifolds in it. So it opens up, it's got these three sort of triptych sections, and these are illustrations, if I remember correctly, by John when he was a kid. Yeah, John Lennon, June 1952, age 11. My mother and father were born in 1952. Yeah, you can sort of remix these in different ways, and then it's got this picture of John. Am I missing one? No, I don't think so. I think there's one more on the inside here. There's kind of yeah, it's got an interesting, let's just check the inserts here real quick. Cool insert. This might be a Japanese pressing. Yeah, this one's made in Japan, 1974, Apple. I don't know, that might be the original publishing date, but this is the inner jacket, and it is, yeah, just a typical paper sleeve. I've probably put a polyvinyl sleeve in it, and then it's got the book. I assume this is the English book, yeah. And yeah, pretty cool lyrics and some of his other illustrations, maybe his Mr. something, I don't know, his teacher. You guys probably know better than me. Yeah, time to give this one a listen. I'm inspired to listen to this one again today. And it's got this, you know, thing that none of us really love that much, where it goes into the record the other way. Oh, cool, it does have a Japanese insert too. So listen to this Walls. Here's this is something that you often find in Japanese pressings. You know, the special Japanese insert that translates these things into Japanese. I probably got this at the local thrift store for literally like $5. It was probably pretty cheap. And I'll go back to Graceland. This one was bought, I'm gonna guess, in like 96, 97 at Amoeba in San Francisco for $1. So this was a $1 record in the dollar bin. Can you believe it? That's how long I've been collecting records. Back in the 90s, I started collecting. And my first medium was records too. Okay, I'm not going to be able to speak with much authority, but this is The White Stripes, Elephant. I have most of the White Stripes discography. This is a later pressing, not an original, maybe like 2014 or 16 or something like that, but beautiful record, 4 sides of music. And this has the massive, massive hit that put the White Stripes on the world stage, which was Seven Nation Army. This is maybe their 4th album. I won't be able really to, 2003 is when it came out. Oh, and this is a 2021 version. Okay, so this is a pretty new version. It was recorded in London. It's only got 3 songs per side. It might be a 45 RPM deal. It's probably, Third Man Records pressing, 180 gram wax, and interesting inserts, like bizarre, crazy inserts of a guy here in like some kind of safari hat, Panama Jack, and sitting in some kind of coffin or grave. Yeah, I love throwing on the White Stripes. I have, like I said, I have most of their discography. I love the 2-piece. I'm a big kind of Black Keys fan. I just went on a big Black Keys dive, and at the same time the Black Keys came out, the White Stripes were on the scene, and they had this kind of famous rivalry, and I loved the 2-piece. I really, really loved the 2-piece. I was astonished about how much sound that a 2-piece band could create, the power of the 2-piece. So, and Jack White continues to impress and inspire me in everything that he's done to the music loving world, and just love him for so many reasons. So cool. I think he's kind of the Tom Waits of our generation, perhaps. So Elephant, yes. These songs, I know them all, but I don't really know them incredibly well by name. Another one I need to give a listen to today. I tend to go to one of the early demos of the White Stripes that I really dig. Early versions of these songs that are just like him and a guitar, Jack White and a guitar. Okay, next up is one of my favorite records. This is Trey Anastasio's masterpiece from 2012, Traveler. I am so happy to have pulled this record. Total accident. I actually have 2 of these copies, which is probably why I ended up grabbing one of them, because they took up a little space. I love the artwork on this record. You're getting the glare, but there's just this beautiful, intricate artwork. And as you'd expect with all things related to Trey Anastasio, he's, kind of an over-the-top guy. He is the lead guitarist and founder of the band Fish. I'm a big Fish head. Fish famously broke up from 2004 to 2009. Essentially, the band imploded. This record came out in 2012. It was a long-awaited sort of follow-up to some solo records. Trey has got a solo career, much like kind of Jerry's solo career. He's got a rotating cast of characters that have played on his records. He's kind of got like a Paul McCartney Fish, outside of Fish career. He's got the Trey Anastasio Band, who consists of Russ Lawton on drums and Tony Marcalis on bass, who sadly we lost a couple of years ago, but happily replaced with a very cool cat. I'm spacing his name at the moment. But this is kind of early Trey, 2012, and this record shreds. It is so good. A sleeper of a record. And it comes with a beautiful, clear orange vinyl. And it actually also comes with a 7-inch. This was a record that was a 12-inch and a 7-inch. I've got the 7-inch in the 7-inch case. Let me tell you about this. So Trey plays vocals, guitars, keyboards, and percussion on this. This is like a McCartney kind of record. And it's got, this opening track is called Corona. When all the bands were on hiatus during the Corona was one of the songs that they came out and played at one of the first shows back. Very cool tune, really great album opener. Let Me Lie, Frost, Land of Nod, the 3rd track on Traveler is amazing. Actually, probably my favorite track on the record. Scabbard was also released as a single. I have this one. Clint Eastwood is a Gorillaz cover. He actually covers the Gorillaz on this, which is really interesting, sort of a new interpretation of the Gorillaz, Clint Eastwood. And Architect and Valentine. The 7-inch songs are not listed on here. So you'll see sometimes Traveler being sold just as the 12-inch and sometimes just as the 7-inch. But I believe they were originally sold together, and I think there was a painting. I should know about the artist's name, but I think you could buy like a lithograph or a print by the artist that was signed by maybe the artist and Trey. So if you don't know about Trey Anastasio and you're not into fish, or you don't know, I can't really recommend this record enough. Traveler by Trey Anastasio from 2012. This record is awesome. I actually have 2 copies. If you're interested in a copy, let me know here. On the hype sticker, it says, the new studio album from Fish's Trey Anastasio, deluxe 180 gram colored LP, bonus 7-inch and download card. So this one's still in the shrink. On ATO Records, which it's, I think everything fish related has moved, or everything solo fish related has moved off of ATO and onto their label Jump. Oh, I love this record. Then the final record that I've pulled out here. Okay, so this wasn't a complete failure. I think I rambled a lot, but I just want to stop here for a moment and give a big salute to Mazzy, because this is not easy. This is hard. This is much harder than I thought. But it's fun too. But for you to know these details and not to ramble on and lose your place like I'm doing, you know, a lot of respect. So the last record I'll pull out is Hachimitsu Pai, which is a Japanese outfit which I need to know more about. Oh, what's the name of this record? Something Dori. It's kind of written in a weird... Oh my gosh, I should be able to read this. Katakana. Sentimental Dori kana. Sentimental Dori maybe. And it's got this kind of crazy sort of lost, or what, Soft Parade. Is that the one, the Doors record? It kind of looks a little bit like the down and out Skid Row of the back alley of, I believe this is actually Golden Guy in Shinjuku. I could be mistaken, in Tokyo. This is a record that's very much, it's from the 60s or early 70s. Japanese artist, a kind of pioneer, a sort of unsung hero of Japanese early folk rock. It's a real mellow record. The guys who started this record, who I don't remember on it by name, they went on to create the band Moonriders. And I don't know well about the Moonriders, but there's some die-hard Moonrider fans out there. Moonriders might be something akin to, I could be mistaken here, but like, I don't know, just fusion jazz, possibly connected to like YMO, where Happy End precedes YMO, Hachimitsu Pai precedes Moonriders, I believe. It's a real groovy record. I really recommend this. And I picked this up at a new record shop in Tokyo called Tokyorecordstyle, which I have 2 really great memories of, or several great memories of. The gentleman who runs Tokyorecordstyle is a really nice guy. He ran Recofan in Shibuya for some 20 years. And he also worked at Roppongi Wave, which was like this famous record shop in the 70s where all the bands who came to Japan would go and shop for Japanese records. And so the guy is a total knowledgeable cat about all Japanese records and about just the scene overall. And he has like he has all these like signatures of famous rock and rollers around. And he's got this really cool new shop, which is basically like he's taken his entire collection that he's collected over the 30, 40 years that he's been in the music business, and he's opened up record shop and bookshop. It's just really groovy, and it's kind of in a strange little quiet neighborhood of Tokyo, and it's like one of the most supremely cool record shops that is off the beaten path that people haven't been to. And every month or so, he has like a gallery, sort of. He takes a special theme and he dedicates one area of the record store to homage to, you know, somebody that he really loves. And I went in there on a day when he, who is a big Moonriders fan, had this giant Moonriders installation with ticket stubs and posters and towels and commemorative coffee cups and so on. And I was asking him to tell me about Moonriders, and he told me about Hachimitsu Pai. Hachimitsu means honey in Japanese. Hachimitsu. Hachi is bee, and mizu, Hachimizu. Mizu is water. Bee water pie. So I'm going to give this one a listen today too. A really great record to end this whack-a-mole Tokyo Record Style edition on. So there's occasionally a bonus record to go on the whack-a-mole, a 6th record, but I'm gonna forgo it because I've rattled on entirely too long here. One more big salute and thank you to Mazzy for always doing such an interesting and great job on his whack-a-mole versions, and thank you for letting me riff off of your great idea. Yeah, good way to rediscover your records in your own collection. I actually have another project that's connected to 5 records. It's called Top 5 Records. It's a talk show and DJ event that we've hosted some 15 episodes on, and we basically have a couple of DJ sets sandwiched by a sort of extended version of the high fidelity concept of what top 5 records for a Monday morning, top 5 records for your funeral, top 5 records for wacky themes, and we kind of create these presentations where we talk about our 5 favorite records in a way that's not completely unlike this, but very less impromptu and a bit more thought out, though it's a pretty casual event too. Okay. Thanks for joining me. If you liked, please give me a like or subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Let me know what you know about any of these records. What did I miss? I know I probably missed some things on Walls and Bridges and Graceland and Elephant, so on all of them. But what great records. I got lucky on this one. I got lucky. So yeah, thanks for joining me. And today I've got one more thing to mention. I'm hosting Tokyo-Record-Style-Day. So if you've made it all the way to the end of this video and you happen to be in Tokyo, 2 things I doubt you're checking the boxes of both. But if you are in Tokyo today, I'm hosting Tokyo-Record-Style-Day Volume 8. Which is just a day that we all go to the record shop together, go record shopping, and some of the record stores have like refrigerators with craft beer and snacks and chips, and we're just and couches, and we're gonna go to this record shop on the west side of Tokyo in Tsutsujigaoka called Garageville. Very cool shop. I'll probably make a little video about it. It's a great chance for us record-loving friends to get together and make some photos, shop records, share our love for music, and I can grab some photos for the Tokyo Record Style project, which if you don't know about, check out on Instagram at Tokyo Record Style or on the website at tokyo.record.style. Okay, I'm done. Thank you, and until next time, I'll see you at the record store. Bye.